Support for Nevada Week in person is provided by Senator William H. Hernstat and additional supporting sponsors.
The Las Vegas housing market has been hot lately with skyrocketing prices. It has come a long way since the depths of the Great Recession. Well, someone who saw its collapse and return is Shantae Patton. She's a local real estate agent, but she does a lot more than just sell homes. She's also dedicated to closing the gap between Black home ownership and white home ownership. Shantae, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and you know, we had such a great conversation on the show itself, and I wanted to continue a little bit of that conversation too, and come back to just this wealth inequity issue here. You know, I on a lot of shows, whenever we talk about any social inequity, when we talk about any economic inequity, it always comes back to wealth equity being one of the key factors here, always. What are some of the other barriers that you see, in addition to just home ownership, that are prohibiting that wealth equity?
You know, a lot of it comes with education and how expensive education is for minorities, and that comes back to wealth. They do not have that benefit of family being able to pull equity out and pay for their education. So along with that education comes the burden of student loans. And it sticks with you for so long, it affects your way of living, even after you've gotten that job that you have been waiting so long to get. Yeah. You know, so things like that make it very difficult, in addition to lending practices, malpractices of lending, and those sort of things. You know, we constantly have a barrier of lack of education, financial literacy, you know, income, down payment assistance options. There's so many different struggles all at once. It's really hard for us to figure out how to tailor it down to what we have control over.
And something we talked about on the show too is just you know, having equity in positions of influence in policy. Yes. This obviously leads to having maybe a state legislation and even some of our municipal leadership that is reflective of the communities they serve, which would be you know, definitely a percentage of Black and African American, that we don't see those same ratios. I mean, do you think that's one of the main solutions here?
It is. You have to be able to have a seat at the table as well as a voice to be able to change the mindset that is so old. And in order to do that, you have to have diversity on every level that makes a decision for the people of Nevada. They have to look like the community. And we struggle with that, and it is a big battle, and we see a little progress, but we need progress faster in order for us to be able to combat the issues we're dealing with. Let's
talk more specifically about the real estate industry in general. I mean, is it representative of, you know, populations we see? Not at all.
It's not. You know, NAR, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, says they have 1.4 million members, and out of that 1.4 million members, less than 6% of them are people of color, specifically African Americans.
So what's the barrier there? Why aren't we seeing more professionals in that?
I think that as children, again, we come back to that lack of home ownership means you breed less entrepreneurs. So being able to go from the concept of an employee to a business owner, and the barrier of the cost of getting into the business, it being 100% commission, you know, it's a lot of different things that have a lot to do with it. And it has been a good old boys club, and it has been a white industry for so long, and there has not been any intentional effort to bring minorities in up until the last year or two.
I mean, are you seeing hints of a shift?
I do. I see the hints of leadership being people of color on a national level, and I think that's where it starts. Yeah.
I wanted to get a little more personal too, back to the conversation. You are a HUD certified housing, urban development certified housing counselor.
I am.
And I want to talk to you just about some of the things you hear, some of the struggles that you or your clients are facing.
You know, the big thing is credit recovery, and the lack of income to be able to put aside to help recover it and pay your day-to-day bills. The other is the lack of knowledge and the misinformation. So a lot of them don't come for the help because they automatically think I'm nowhere near, you know, to the point where I can even get the help. And that's the lack of information, thinking that you need 20% down instead of 3%. Yeah. So we combat the mindset and the lack of information more than anything.
Lack of credit, is it just a lack of credit? I mean, we see so many short-term lending facilities here in the area. I mean, is that a big part of that?
Especially in the Black community. There are more short-term lending companies than there are banks in our community, and that's an issue.
Yeah. Wanted to know your perceptions. We talked a little bit about this. We didn't really talk a lot about Make Homes Possible, the coalition itself.
Yes.
We talked about a lot of the resources, but not the coalition itself, which is a multi-agency coalition. You've got community-based members. You've got cities and municipalities is there as well. You've got chambers. I wanted to ask your perspectives on just our community in general. How good are we at collaborating and developing coalitions like this?
I think we're awful at it. I think we're awful at it, and it is very difficult because each agency has their purpose of being here, their source of funding, and what they need to do to survive and keep their lights on. And so when a lot of us do the same things, it can sometimes conflict, and then we all think we can do the rat race on our own. That's why Make Homes Possible is so unique, because we are thought leaders in the community, and we put aside all those things to come together for one purpose.
Well, let's talk about, there's obviously a lot of other coalition building that needs to be happening. So those that are listening that might want to develop a similar coalition, what are some of the key things that made your coalition so successful? And I want to mention, you're one of the co-founders of this.
I am. I think what makes it so successful is, one, we all had a common purpose. And because we are boots on the ground, we understood what the issue was. We didn't try to tackle the bigger issue of policy. We just wanted to get belly to belly with the community and ascertain what we could do in our small capacity specifically for them to do that part. And I think that's why we're seeing the success.
When I hear coalition, I definitely think policy and policy influencers. So that might not have been first stage, but is that kind of part of the strategic plan moving forward?
It is. We will move policy once we can show them that, look, belly to belly is how we change this, and now we need you to help us with the policy so that we can spread this out a little bit more.
Interesting. You're raising several children.
I am.
Lived in Las Vegas for a long time. I wanted to get your ideas on just what it's like to raise a family here, and let's maybe start with some of the benefits of raising a family here in the Las Vegas Valley.
I love this valley. It has been good to me. It's been good to my children. Although people think it's what's happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, this is a family-oriented community. There's a park on almost every corner, and that solidifies who we want to be as a community. So I think that the options of charter schools is so great and beneficial for the kids. The sports, us being able to have so much summer and warm time, allows for so many different sports options, and there's always something to do with the kids, whether it's indoors or out in nature. We love nature, and we have the best benefit of that here.
It's true. Accessibility is something that I think Las Vegas has done really, really well. And I've lived in other parts of the U.S. too, and just having close access to diapers, in a pharmacy.
On every corner.
I mean, it's amazing how much difference that makes. It really does.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go the other side then. Maybe some of the barriers or challenges you think of raising a family here.
I think a lot of the barriers comes with how transient this city has become. And it makes it difficult for you and your kids to have long-lasting relationships, because kids are coming in and out. There's this constant movement. It makes it difficult, I think, for kids to set down roots as much.
Yeah.
So we have to be very intentional about how we socialize them and the things that we put them a part of, that we know it's going to be a long-term thing so that they don't feel it as much.
Yeah, it's true. And of course, that road leads back to homeownership as well, and more stability in the community.
The renting versus homeownership, and knowing you can be there for 20, 30 years if you want.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about your pets. We were talking about this a little bit in the green room. You have a pet desert tortoise.
I do.
That surprised me. I mean, just generally speaking, what's it like? And you have dogs too, so maybe we make a comparison there, a contrast between having dogs and having a tortoise as a pet.
He is very fun. His name is Zeus, and his habitat is Mount Olympus. He is the king of gods. He is very human focused. He brings a different dynamic to our household of floppy dogs. He gets along very well with them, but it gives us pride because we know that he belongs to the state. And so there was a call to action. They needed help. We took that on. And so we are proud of raising him and giving him what he needs. He lives off the earth, so he doesn't require a whole lot. So what he gives us is full entertainment, and he's very personable.
And it's funny because I don't think entertainment and tortoise are usually used in the same sentence there. So that might be a surprise to people.
It is.
Tortoises have personalities.
They have huge personalities.
Yeah.
He will come when you call him. He loves to get his neck rubbed. You know, he just wants to be in the mix. He walks around the dogs. He is a part of our family completely.
Yeah.
He's fun.
And as we were talking about earlier too, this is hibernation phase for
Yes.
tortoises. So a certain amount of months out of the year, you don't necessarily have the tortoise in the same
We
capacity.
don't. We get him for about 4 or 5 months out the year, and the rest of the time he is asleep. You know, so we make the most of it. Our friends come by to see him. You know, we let him know he's going to be asleep soon, you know, and they will come by to see him.
Yeah.
He's a fun animal to have, you wouldn't think, and very low maintenance. So I suggest people, you know, take on that challenge and bring a tortoise home.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I mean, if somebody were, do you know the resources that we would access?
I do. So the tortoisegroup.com. .org. So Tortoise Group is where you go. They will tell you how to prepare your yard, what plants to put in. You go to Star Nursery, they will help you out. And then the Tortoise Group will deliver you a wonderful tortoise who might or might not be a girl. You don't know it at that time, you know, but be prepared because they will outlive you.
Yeah.
You know, they can live 85 to 100 years. So be prepared when you take it on that you have a succession plan and that you want it to be a part of your family for a long time, a generation essentially or two.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great advice. Okay, so a couple of short questions here.
Okay.
I hope you like this first one. Most intriguing or exciting neighborhood to buy or sell a home in Las Vegas?
So I would say the Rancho Alta area,
Yeah.
because those homes are so unique and some of them have never been resold before.
Wow.
You know, so they have been there from the very beginning of time, and I think it's one of the most unique neighborhoods in the city.
A true Las Vegas experience is?
Mob Museum.
Really?
You need to see our history.
Yeah, yeah.
See how far we've come from that. We've completely pivoted.
True.
So see our journey.
True. Very good. Nevada's most important asset is?
The community. Our
And-
most important asset is our community.
One word. What do we need more of?
Free parking.
Isn't that true? Isn't that true? And it just
Yes.
we just keep reducing the amount that we have. What do we need less of?
Traffic.
Traffic. Yeah.
We need less traffic and affordable housing.
And affordable housing. Yeah. Next big thing in Las Vegas will be?
I think we will continue to evolve. I think we will step back even more from tourism and diversify who we are and what it means to live in Las Vegas. I think North Las Vegas is a great example of that, you know, and what they've been doing. I think that we will expand to many other fields and people will find different reasons to come live here.
That's an interesting point. I mean, where would you like to see Las Vegas go then? I mean, if we were to add another industry, an industry that so we're not so dominant on tourism, maybe what would that be?
Honestly, it might sound crazy, but I love to see us get into the film industry.
Huh. Yeah.
I think we could take that on.
Yeah. Well, wonderful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Well, the conversation we had with Shantae is about the efforts underway now to address inequality in home ownership. Please go to our website at vegaspbs.org/Nevada Week, or tune in on Sunday at 5:30 p.m. and Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. For both of those conversations. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.